This is one of my favorite sessions we've done in all the Mid-Atlantic Marketing Summits, and it's just called What's Trending, and we go out and pick who we consider some of the hottest, most innovative digital agencies who are doing really interesting stuff. I email them and I say, you guys got 15 minutes, and they say, well, for what? And I say, just show us some cool stuff that you're doing, and they always come through. We've got 3 great, very prestigious agencies here who are going to present different topics. Some will take one campaign, some may take sort of a thread, and others sort of case studies. With that, I'm going to jump right into it. We're going to start with Viget, and we have Paul Calderbank, who's the strategy director of Viget, and Owen Shiflett, who's art director of Viget. You guys can take it over.
Thanks, Paul. And thank you guys for being here today to listen to us. We're going to chat a little bit about some of the work we've done recently for Dick's Sporting Goods. But before we jump into the work, I just want to do a brief intro into who we are, Viget. So we're a 65-person digital agency based right here in Washington, D.C., actually Falls Church, just down the street. We also have an office in Durham, North Carolina, and Boulder, Colorado. So we're split across the three different offices. We work with some really great brands. We're very fortunate to work with some really inspiring clients, including Puma, World Wildlife Fund, O-Power, who are also a local organization, and Dick's Sporting Goods, who we're going to talk about a little bit today. So moving on, I just want to chat a little bit about Dick's Sporting Goods before we go into the project that we're going to reveal to you. Dick's Sporting Goods are the leading sports retailer in the US. They have over 500 stores. That number is going to increase to about 700 over the next 2 to 3 years. They have very aggressive growth plans. E-commerce accounts for about 6% of the business that they do, which is fairly typical for a brand that has any kind of e-commerce business. That number often comes across as being surprisingly low, but it's a very truthful figure, and it's a number that we as agencies work with brands to try and elevate over the course of the coming years. Our audience for this project was high school and student athletes, which pretty much falls into the millennial category. That category is extremely hard to reach and has become harder and harder to connect to over the last few years through the proliferation of the different devices that are available to that group and the adoption rates that group has onboarded. So this group no longer just watches TV and can be reached by movies and whatnot. This is a group that is connected to multiple devices throughout the course of the day and switches device uses frequently throughout that day. So they can start with tablet, move to desktop, shift to mobile device, shift to their phone, constantly and frequently throughout the course of the day. So that presents a real challenge as a marketer to connect to that group and create something that is going to resonate and be prevalent throughout the course of the day. So that was a major challenge for us as we kind of considered how we're going to reach this group. The assignment that we got from the client was to connect to them, do something really cool that was going to resonate and tell a story. The second point was to generate a story that would be powerful and deliver some information around new products that were being released, tied to the introduction of new products tied to seasonal sports. And the third was to make this experience shoppable and shareable. So basically it was a giant invitation to come in, learn about new products that were tied to new sports, learn something new and different, get excited about them, share that with their friends, and if they were really inspired by it, to buy it directly from that site. So the strategy that we employed was to develop a video-driven, fully responsive, shoppable online experience, which sounds great and sounds easy, right? But challenges come with that, particularly on making video, full-screen video, responsive across all of these different device types. That's the major challenge. Like, how do we make video that's going to convey our story work across all of these different device types? There are huge technology challenges involved in that, which we feel as though we created a solution for. And Owen's going to, our director here, is going to dive in and kind of demonstrate how our solution played out across multiple campaigns. But I think we kind of delighted the client with what we came up with, and hopefully you'll enjoy the example that we've got to share with you. It's going to play out across 3 different campaigns. We actually did 5 or 6. The first is baseball. We then move on to running, and the third is women's fitness. There was a couple of campaigns that preceded this around football. So it was an iterative process that took place across multiple sports. But Owen's going to take us through how that worked out.
I'm Owen. I'm an art director at Bigot. So before I show you the sites, I just wanted to talk briefly about like the creative strategy behind this whole thing. So we have on one side we have e-commerce, which is very sales driven, and on the other side we have brand, and those two oftentimes these big corporations collide. So what we really wanted to do was try to tell product stories, so we could bridge that gap between like the purchasing process and then the really sexy brand stories. And one way to do that was to take some of the aspects of both and kind of cram them together and see how it kind of panned out. So we were able to take video that we shot alongside of the brand team internally at Dick's, and then also working with the e-com team to find the right products and kind of merge those two. So I'll stop talking to show you, and then I can comment a little bit more on it. So I'll start with the baseball site, which was the first site that we launched. Basically, what you can see, we're leading with story, we're leading with visuals, we're leading with a compelling thing that's supposed to draw teenage boys into the experience. And then we're actually starting to populate the actual video with shoppable moments. Now, this was the first one that we did, so we kind of went light on the tech in terms of like the art direction and overall kind of UI, and kind of had these points that you can click on and experience. But the idea being that we can actually show product, we can show it in its natural environment, we can show it in being worn by other kids who who are the target demographic, and also really kind of imbibe a sense of the Dick's brand, which is actually putting products in the hands of people so they can go and actually participate in sports. So that's kind of like just the kind of overarching vibe. And what we wanted to do was make this so that you could easily kind of navigate around, so you can kind of get to this overarching navigation, kind of click around to different positions. And then the really cool thing about this is that it's not just a desktop site. As Paul was saying, if I was to resize this window down, it would go down to mobile. It works and functions on tablet. The video experience is the same across all venues, as well as in-store experiences. So people can actually go into stores, they can watch this video, and if they click on the buy, it'll actually pop up with QR codes, which will direct them to this version of the site on the mobile view, and they can add it directly to a cart from there. So it's a very closed-loop experience. So that's something we've been pretty excited about. At the same time, should we talk about the nav a little bit? Yeah. Do you want to talk through this one?
Yeah, so we created, in order to tie all of these experiences together, we had multiple sports that we were challenged with, multiple campaigns that we had to develop. In order to tie them together, we created this global navigation, which is basically sticky navigation that would work on all of the campaigns that would help tie stuff together. So you can see here we've got baseball, but as we move through, when you open that up and it becomes expansive, we can then connect to running, we can connect to football, we can connect to women's fitness and all of the other campaigns that will follow it. And it's a really easy way for the client to add additional supportive content, such as video, infographics, any kind of information that really supports that particular campaign to the marketing side, and connect all of those sports together.
So that's baseball. The next one is the next one we launched a couple months later was running. Went with a very similar motif of using video, but in this one, as opposed to having things slide in, slide out, we tried to make the experience even more immersive, even more video-driven. So we actually approach this as almost like creating a digital commercial that loops and it consistently plays over and over again. So in the in-store experience, it never ends. It continues to go on forever and ever. So when people can just walk up and stop the experience at any time and participate. So on this one, we focused on different runner stories. So anywhere from a single woman running to a couple running to people running in marathons, something that kind of hit all the different points from the running experience. And then at any point, if you interact on the screen, you can roll over and it starts to surface up these products. And that's kind of what I was mentioning when it comes to product stories. So if I click on any particular product, it opens up and I'm able to see these continued video motifs throughout. And then when you actually click, as opposed to just seeing in an e-com experience, you just get an overview of the product, you get some details, which is great, but it kind of lacks that brand level experience that we were hoping to achieve. So with this, it's live video, it's full video, full screen video, and you can actually see the products in action, the flex, the bend, and especially with some of the products that are breathable, you can really see how it looks on a particular model without even having to guess. So kind of clicking through this, if I jump back. You can really see how some of these products kind of play out. And then, of course, all of them are, this is not working. I'll just skip past that one. Sometimes it takes a little while. These are very large sites in terms of the technical challenges, so the videos are large. So it's something that we've had to work through as we've kind of, there's been a lot of technical limitations that we've had to overcome, as Paul mentioned. But right from here, as Paul mentioned earlier, the shoppable versus the shareable experience has become more and more important to us. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek of the women's site that's coming out soon that we're launching that has an additional layer of social kind of built into it. But as you can see, this looped through for a certain period of time. So when you're in the in-store experience, they can have 3 different screens going at once, one with the main kind of digital commercial that we produced, and then have these other pieces, and they actually just kind of loop through on their own until someone decides they want to interact with it. So it becomes sort of an interactive billboard in that sense. But the exact same experience for desktop users. All you have to do is resize the browser.
And we should probably say that the reason why we created this in the first place is that this kind of like level of experience, this kind of immersive video wouldn't have been possible on the e-commerce site because of the structure of the e-commerce site. The e-commerce site is basically a shopping platform. It doesn't give us the ability to do this level of marketing. So we created this separate site to really bring people in, allow them to discover products, and then click through to that e-commerce site.
So this one's fitness, and I'm going to show you, women's fitness is next up. So this is the one that we're going to be launching in a couple weeks. And we've kind of taken this from a slightly different angle, a lot of the user research that we're taking out. So I should probably mention that Dick's Sporting Goods isn't known for women's fitness. It's something that they've slowly tried to move into the market. And so what they've asked us to do is find a way to represent the kind of women that would shop at Dick's Sporting Goods. A lot of women are shopping at Dick's Sporting Goods, but they're shopping for their kids. So that's a huge missed opportunity when it comes to potential sales. So we worked with a number of different sports, and these are the kind of main set, anywhere from yoga to kickboxing. And the experience is somewhat similar to the other sites in that there is there's video going on, but we've decided in this case to kind of overlay it with bits of data and information that pertains to women's fitness. So you can kind of click all these interactive items you can click on. There's shareable elements. Obviously, Pinterest is a huge one for this particular site. And we tried to really kind of rally around the idea of these shareable moments that kind of augment the video experience, all while being able to shop the experience at any given time to show all the products that are in that particular scene. And that's the experience.
So let's move on to talking about, this is all well and good, but is it actually working?
Yeah, I think we have 2 more slides.
So the client, like many of you, have invested in marketing sites that are different. They're trying to tell a story and stand out above other things, like to create a break in the noise. But what's really important is if they actually generate some business. So what we found, and our initial brief for this was not to drive traffic to the site and wasn't to connect to sell-through rates. Our initial brief was to raise the profile of the Dick's Sporting Goods brand and to kind of introduce product stories. It was very kind of vague. But we wanted to be a little bit more direct about it. So we've looked at some of the performance stats from the sites that we've developed so far, and the client's been really thrilled by it. So this is kind of validation of the strategy that we took, which was develop stuff that was responsive and was going to work across all of those different device types. 50% of all of the visits came from mobile, which is pretty huge. About 20% is typical, kind of normal. We knew that this audience was going to be skewed more heavily towards tablet, so we're expecting a higher rate. But a 50% from mobile really kind of suggests that this was a pathway that was the right way to go. The second is this 10 to 15% click-through rate. Again, that's huge. As marketers in the room, we can all kind of appreciate if we're developing any kind of campaign that gets that level of click-through to the place where people are going to buy stuff, then that's kind of key, right? That's a golden number. It was also showcased by the CMO. Again, if we have high-level execs in the room, this is something else that's really kind of important to touch on, that having the ability to go in front of your investors and say, look, we're doing something different. We really understand our customers. We get the technology that they're using. We really understand digital, and we understand the shifts that are taking place, and we understand how to connect to them. Then, again, that's really powerful. And then finally, we've received a bunch of media information from these sites that are just added value for the client. They're driving additional traffic to the sites. They're building kind of filling out the story and the awareness of what we're trying to convey. And again, that's through doing something that's new and different and cool, those are the kind of results that you can expect. So really quickly before we move on to other presenters, key takeaways are, we have 3 of them. First one is mobile is essential, especially for the group that we're trying to reach here, which is millennials. That's going to vary depending on whatever your audience segment is, but for us, this was really key.
Well, baseball at least. Women's fitness, not for millennials.
Right.
But close enough.
Second is video is a great way of telling a story. It's kind of basic and obvious, but it's really overlooked. And video actually performs 600 times better than any kind of text-based messaging. So again, if you can create something that is video-based and works across all these different device types, then you're kind of onto a winner. And then thirdly, execution is everything. So having all of these great ideas and an awesome strategy and knowing who you want to connect to is great, but if you don't perform, if you don't execute in a way that's really going to be impactful and resonate and be really interesting, then the whole thing fails and falls apart. So you really need a partner or a great in-house team to pull that off.
Great, thank you. And we'll take some Q&A. And Matt, you want to come over and get set up? Awesome presentation. Questions? Yep, right here.
So, question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think video and just anything image-based is becoming more and more appreciated by brands in general because of the recognition of how much more impactful it is to connect with consumers. So it all comes back to the quality of the content, though. So it's not just about video or just about imagery. It's about the quality of that imagery and the story that it's trying to tell.
It's also something brands understand. I mean, the traditional TV spots have always been the way to go, especially for Dick's Sporting Goods. They know that space. So to be able to make that I think the next logical leap is to find out a way to make those videos interactive, to imbibe, the commerce piece of that into those experiences is a win for them.
Hand it over to Matt.
Thanks. Hi. How's everyone doing? My name's Matt. I'm a creative director, junior copywriter at White & Partners. I figure one day I'll get the whole writing thing figured out. But I am, a storyteller at heart and by trade. So today what I thought I'd do is hopefully have this show up on screen. Hello. There we go. Is share a little campaign with you guys that we put together for our good friends at Visit Fairfax. That was appropriate, seeing that we are all here in Fairfax County today. And, like I said, I'm a storyteller, so I'm just going to kind of walk you guys through a little journey, get to the work, and then share a few results. So here we go. Travel and tourism. The East Coast is covered with amazing places for families, couples, people of all walks of life to visit. Places like New York City, Walt Disney World, the Outer Banks of North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountains, our nation's capital, Fairfax County, Virginia. Yeah, there's some competition out there. But Visit Fairfax, the DMO for Fairfax County, is a much-loved client of White & Partners. But let me take a minute to step back because really referring to this organization and the people that work there as client isn't doing the relationship justice. Everyone at the agency works in Fairfax County. Many of us live right here in Fairfax County. Some of us even grew up in Fairfax, myself included. So simply referring to Visit Fairfax as client doesn't do the trick. It also doesn't mean we put on a pair of rose-colored glasses when it comes to promoting the place we call home. All right? It's a challenge. It's a real challenge when our next-door neighbor in the travel and tourism space is like fireworks, literally. So what does that mean? Well, it means we have to stand out even more. But first things first. Before we could do that, we had to find an honest place to hang our hats. What could we vector in on? What could we focus on that Fairfax County can honestly and genuinely lay claim to? What helps define Fairfax County? And then how can we use that claim, that thing, how can we turn that into a story and more importantly, turn it into an authentic and entertaining experience? Well, for us, for Fairfax, that thing just happened to be, just this guy, first president of America, General George Washington. He's kind of a big deal. See, we just kept coming back to him as being the most famous resident in Fairfax County. So who better to tell the story of Fairfax County? So, okay, we'd figured out who the star of our story was going to be. Now, how do we bring him to life? Well, we knew that we couldn't push George too far out of his comfort zone, really just for the simple fear that we could wander into the land of cheese. And George could start to feel a little bit like, any generic President's Day sale, which is never a good thing. Or worse yet, a very specific President's Day sale where, we're packing some heat, we're providing some savings, and we're riding a bear. No, that's not going to work for our George. See, the thing was, we still knew that there had to be a real sense of fun to the execution. And, you look at George, and he's a pretty serious guy. But we're talking about travel, right? And travel is an adventure, and adventures are fun. So that got us thinking about not just how we were going to tell the story, but upon what stage were we going to tell it from? Now, we did want to incorporate video because video is one of the best storytellers out there, bar none. But at that point in time, we knew that just about any elaborate production and spot buy just wasn't in the cards. So what technology, what platform could help us bring George to life and bring that experience out to our audience? And that line of thought ultimately led us to the use of a radical, game-changing, earth-shattering technology known as QR code. That's good. That's a laugh. I was about to say, okay, insert audible audience groan here. So I'll take the little laugh and place that. But trust me, I get it. You know, this little digital blemish is like despised by designers. It's sworn at by art directors, and it's just somewhat ridiculed by ad folks in general. And for good reason. It's been used horribly, sometimes dangerously. Like for the poor soul who was trying to scan this code while the van's clearly in reverse, which could lead to an automotive injury, landing our person in the emergency room, dealing with a hefty stack of medical bills, and maybe having them wanting to seek out the legal counsel of Q automotive injury attorneys, where they'd love to scan that code if they could just jump up over the vans onto the wall, which, I don't know. I mean, all that jump scanning could lead to another injury, an ankle fracture, perhaps. And now we're dealing with an unprecedented double QR code injury, which could land our scanner in a small news segment on the BBC. You never know. It could go international. And at the end of our broadcast, our viewing audience would love to contact us. That was my British accent. It's not very good. But but they can't contact us, because by the time they've, popped out their smartphones, gotten open that scanning app, dove towards the TV to get their scan on, that little QR code is now a promo spot for the upcoming season of Top Gear. So, I get it. Thing is, if you're going to stick something like this into a layout or anywhere, hopefully just a simple little layout, but if you're going to ask your audience to take out their smartphone, pop open a scanning app. Don't have a scanning app? Well, then go here and download the scanning app. Now that you have the scanning app, open the scanning app, scan this little code, and we'll whisk you away to a magical RFI form, or maybe a landing page if you're lucky. No, you can't do that. We wouldn't do that to you. Fairfax wouldn't do that to you. George certainly wouldn't do that to you. He'd do something more like this. He'd hiss at you, apparently. Oh.
Founding father, all that good stuff. But what really ups the awesomeness is where I live. Fairfax County, Virginia. Think about it. Would the first president of America build his home just anywhere? No. Martha and I wanted to be where the action is. When we feel like some live music, boom! We catch a show at Wolf Trap. Then maybe we'll shop till we drop at Tyson's Corner. Check out the Space Shuttle Discovery at the Udvar Hazy Center. We might even pop across the Potomac to have a look at me, and me, and me, and me, and me, and me, not me, and me. And then it's back home to Mount Vernon. So while I call Fairfax County home, you can call it your home away from home. So come one, come all, come check out all there is to do in Fairfax County, Virginia.
There we go. A little smile at the end. Got to keep it happy. Sorry about the hissing. He wouldn't actually hiss at you. That's not cool. So here's what we had going on. Yeah, I'm going to mute this hissing for a sec. Maybe not. The poster allowed us to maintain a certain visual dignity of our president, which was important to do. And that QR code instantly telegraphed, obviously, what we wanted the audience to do. But it also provided a little bit of visual anticipation for what was to come. People might have expected that this was going to happen. They just didn't know how it was all going to go down. And that little window, that smartphone, that allowed us to have some real fun with what he was saying, to bring a personality to this, and to provide an entertaining and engaging experience for our audience that really helped to bring all the wonderful things that Fairfax County has to offer to life. And, you know, for us, it did so in a way, it's a really simple execution, but it did so in a way where the technology just disappeared. You know, it just became a part of the poster, a part of George, and a part of that overall experience, which was important for us to try and accomplish. So it wasn't just George, by the way. He was joined by his close friends, Thomas Jefferson, and our good buddy, Ben Franklin. So we have them, and now we had to get them out there. We had to get people scanning, get people interacting, and get these guys just talking to the people at large. So we launched this campaign around the 4th of July weekend in one of our key feeder markets, taking these guys to the people in New York City. Gonna need audio.
Well, hello there! And thank you ever so much for scanning me. My name is Thomas. Some call me TJ. Perhaps you've heard of me. Founding father.
Oh, that's really cool.
The man who oversaw the Louisiana Purchase. That's right. I know how to shop. And when I really feel like getting my shop on, there's only one place to go. Fairfax County, Virginia. And once I've gotten all that shopping out, show it will travel. Visit my good friend George at Mount Vernon and check out the Space Shuttle Discovery at the Aussie Center. That's a fun name to say. But why just when you can come see it in Fairfax County, Virginia?
There we go. I love the older guy who just kind of stopped and started laughing, like he had two giant white owls that had landed on his face, but that's me. So the moral of our story is this. Even for something as simple as a lowly little QR code, always think about how you're going to provide your audience with a truly entertaining, engaging, and rewarding experience. I mean, if you're going to ask your audience, assuming you can even get their attention in the first place, but if you're going to ask them to physically interact with an ad, to download an app, to watch a video, whatever it is, if you're going to ask them for any of their precious time at all, you have to reward them. You just do. It has to be with something that they really specifically wanted or with an experience that's more than they expected. Reward them. Make it easy for them to find just what they need, or delight them with a story that makes them laugh. Reward them. Reward them with timely information, thought-provoking content, fun-filled games, ways to simplify their lives, or reward them with the Ben Franklin romantic voice. Audio.
Oh, j'ai fait l'amour, que pistière, je suis original de la ville de l'amour fraternel. Oh, hello! You scanned me, didn't you? Well, I was just brushing up on the language of love. After all, I'm planning a romantic weekend getaway for me and the missus. Oh, no, not Paris. Been there, done that. We're off to the love capital of Virginia, Fairfax County. What's that? You didn't know this about Fairfax County? Well then, perhaps I should elaborate. I'll even do it in my patented Ben Franklin romantic voice.
Wine tastings for two. Romantic walks through national parks. The setting sun over our nation's capital. And a perfect date night under the stars at Wolf Trap.
Didn't know I could do that, did you? Well, Well, it's much better than my French. And it doesn't get much better for a romantic couple's getaway than Fairfax County. After all, Virginia is for lovers, and Fairfax County is in Virginia.
It is. It really is. Get a map. I can prove it. But as you see at the end there, we actually did have an RFI form for people to fill out. But, entertain them first. Give them something that's rewarding. Laughter is a really, really powerful marketing tool. And this little RFI performed well. I believe it was actually one of the best performers, if not the best performer, in terms of getting completed RFIs for any FXVA sweepstakes. And it's generated some strong recognition in the travel and tourism industry, which we at the agency and our client are particularly proud of. There we go. Winning several silvers, golds, a platinum, and a best of show in digital at this year's HASME Adrian Awards, beating out much larger DMOs and hospitality companies with much bigger budgets. Always, always nice to put that kind of a feather in your cap, and it was really nice to come out here and share this with you guys today. Thanks.
Thanks. You want to? We'll take a couple questions. Really innovative campaign. Yeah.
That's going to be actually round two. We want to keep this campaign going, and there is going to be we hope, kind of a video component that will be more shareable. That, granted, is not a very shareable experience. For this one, we actually did have a promoted Facebook campaign that went with it that was really more promoting this experience, but it also worked with the whole sweepstakes promotion to help spread the word about that. But acknowledge that this component is not necessarily shareable, or at least we hadn't gotten it there. That's kind of phase two, taking it out of the mobile device and turning this into more of just a completed video experience. So, to be seen. No, that was it. It was the out-of-home and then the street teams that we wanted to engage, especially for the New York City launch, because realizing that, even though it's a QR code and it's interesting and you want people to get up there and scan it, we felt that the street teams would be really, really key in getting in front of people and engaging with them right away to get them scanning it. So that was pretty much it. It was a promoted Facebook campaign, the out-of-home media, and then the street team component. That was it.
Great. But one real quick question, then we're going to. Yep.
Two things. I unfortunately don't have the results. I'm not the guy that does this. I'm the creative director. I like to know how well it worked. When I heard that it was one of the best, if not the best, polling campaign in terms of getting completed RFIs, I was like, high five, done, good, thank you very much. But if you want, we can certainly follow up with you on that. For me, one of the best reactions, there were two in that video that just got me. The gentleman who scanned it and kind of had this kind of a look on his face, that got me. And I love the dude in the little red, white, and blue hat. But I think most of all, it was that one gentleman that walked past, the older guy with the white hair, who looked at it. He wasn't scanning it. He just started laughing. And when I freeze-framed that, it was interesting because I saw that he was laughing, but then there were like 3 or 4 other people kind of walking past, and they all did this thing, right? They all kind of stopped and looked at it. So it wasn't so much them physically engaging with it, but the fact that someone else was, and it totally got their attention. That's what we got.
A round of applause. No, thanks.
All right.
Thanks. You can sit down over there. And now, Bully Entertainment. I'll just hand it over to Carlson Bull, and they have some really innovative stuff and iPads, and we'll hand it over.
There'll be a lot of shenanigans going on, so hopefully it all works out. I'm going to take a completely different approach, and we're just going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at you all. I'll go through and just give a little preface of where we're coming from. We'll show some of the finished products, but thought it might be nice to actually show some proof of concepts that we've got. These always help, kind of blow up the balloon of what's possible. So we'll go through, and this is Corey Megan, my beautiful assistant today. So we'll kind of go back and forth. But Bully is, we are out of Baltimore, Maryland. Been around for 8. Thank you. Nice. Been around for 8 years. We focus on premium cross media branded entertainment. most of all, though, we make fun, and that's kind of our overall premise. So we look at an activation and say, how do we make it fun? Because we really think that fun equates to consumer engagement. If you can get somebody to interact with your product, your activation, and it's fun, that message will get across to them, ideally. Big component of that is gamification. It doesn't mean that we build just games, although we'll show one of our most recent launches. But we take components of gamification and put them in activations. Case in point, we're building an installation for a major pharmaceutical where the idea is at this trade show, the oncologist would come up and kind of put out their hand, and they control with elite motion, which may or may not work today, but with elite motion, they control a T cell and can reach out and attack a melanoma cell. They could do a big banner, but this way they really engage people in that experience, the doctors in their experience. So that should come out in about a month. Another big component of how we approach things is telling a story. These guys talked a lot about telling stories. It's key to how we learn, how we understand, and whether we build the story ourselves or extend a narrative. Either way, it's about storytelling. We'll show the Amazing Spider-Man 2 app, which hopefully that's a good narrative. We'll see in a couple months, I guess, but we've tried to expand that out further. Getting into the more global themes, nothing new. Brands are becoming more content providers. So rather than wrapping content with the brand, we see brands are at least coming to us to actually create the content that engages people. Big part of that, though, is these devices are they're all over the place, and how do you get that content to live across all those different platforms? So one of the things that we're very key to investigate. Last thing, emerging media. This is something that we're focusing on. We think there's a lot of playability and fun factor in using new techniques and sensors. So we do a lot of augmented reality work. We do a lot of leap motion. We're doing a Connect experience right now with a local agency for a very big government organization. I'm trying not to say anything, where you can walk up and kind of swipe your hand and see yourself in different uniforms. So again, kind of a fun engagement there. Last thing, shareability is very big, and analytics, of course, drives the whole thing. So fun stuff. Let's hook up the
Subtle branding opportunity.
Yeah, right. So a big, let's see. Shenanigans, hold on. We do a lot of app work, and ideally this will work because it's almost all on that. Let's see if it comes up. Yeah, good.
Bingo.
So the first one we'll be talking about is the most recent one that we've launched, Kellogg's Amazing Spider-Man 2 app. This one is obviously tied into the Amazing Spider-Man 2 feature coming up, but what we tried to do was take it in a direction where you could essentially bring it home. And we do have audio on this if, okay. So our initial, I missed it. Plug in, Corey. You might need to, come on. There we go. So the initial brief on this was to create a very experiential game that brought essentially the narrative home to you. They wanted a game, so we created something where you could go ahead and tap into. Oh no. Go ahead and scan. Yeah. So part of it is it's Kellogg's. There's a number of different products. I think we're at about 90 million back of packs on this, where you can scan certain markers on the back of pack, and these are in stores now and kind of across the nation. But what that does is that unlocks different levels of this game. So go ahead and go into the different. Do you want me to? Okay.
Hard to do it one-handed, sorry.
There we go. In front of each one of these, because it's tied in with the movie, we've got a trailer for the movie. Sony gave these to us, and it's Stan Lee actually narrating them. They didn't realize that they actually gave away some plot points in these, so there was a kind of a big controversy there for a little bit. But they got through it. So now we've got Electro and these drones, these Oscorp drones that we've designed that come flying at you. Tutorializing everything. So in this case, you can actually grab and throw. We wanted to do that to Electro, but they wouldn't let us throw Electro. But you can fire Spidey webs at these guys. Oscorp pumpkin bombs come flying at you. So number of different levels on this, obviously, but each one takes a specific product to unlock. The idea being that you get into the game. There's a demo level that's free. You get into the game and then want to go to the store and unlock more. It's this is a third in the series of. Are we going to do the spy? Okay, yeah. No, we can. You can just suit up. Yep. So this is the third in the series that we've been doing, and probably the most successful yet. Mainly because I think we've got it so you can get right into the game. Shareable content, of course, is very big. So. We need like masking tape or some duct tape to it blacked out. Yeah. Anyway, you get the idea.
There he is.
Come on. So these images, once it comes back, you'll be able to share them: Facebook, email, Twitter, that kind of thing. There we go. All right, so let's keep moving. Get into Ford. Get into the game. Yeah, it's perfect. So or Pele, we can go Pele. That's all right. Pele is including it here. This is one of our first fully monetizable games. One of the things we always try to do is make it as cinematographic as possible. So we focus on that opening. This one is specifically for Pele, and hopefully it'll connect. So it's a brand, it's a brand activation. It's a flick kick mechanic. We've got a whole career section that you can follow Pele's life, essentially, going from backlot to junior to national. Go ahead and just do a few kicks in here. But one of the main purposes of showing this is that it's a brand experience. It's a branded experience. So building this all in Unity, gamified, obviously, and it's making money right now. So it's fully monetizable and a revenue source. Power up. There we go. Let's go take a look at the Ford getting to the game. Now this was another one that we did. It's probably about a year old. This was actually originally a Kinect activation, and it was so popular that they asked us to port it to iPad, and for the people who are actually waiting in line. It's across. Go ahead and just go through the process. Tap on one of those, like Maple Leafs. It's for the hockey markets, and it was part of the overall activations. Promoting the Ford. This one, again, kind of tried to make it as high-level graphics as possible. But you'll get in there. We're trying to tell the story. Go ahead and begin, and you're going to have to take a picture of me again. So with this, we'll we set up. There's a CSR that helps the activation, sets this up, takes your picture as you come up and interact with it. Yeah, there you go. Great picture. Again, storytelling. So here we go through the process of starting the car. You'll get in, and then you can actually drive. In the Kinect version, you held your hands up and turned the steering wheel. In this one, we've ported it over, and now as Corey goes right and left, you can drive the car this way. Now, again, younger audience, gamification, but it's all about the car. It's talking about different features. If you get it correct or incorrect, you get different scores, and at the end, you can share that license. Are we out of time? Yeah, okay, cool. So we've got a lot of POCs that we'd love to share at some point. Again, a lot of different mechanics that we've built that can easily be ported across different platforms. Up on our site, there's a lot of stuff, but let us know if there's any interest, and we can send some your way. Great, thank you.
Let's give you